What if I told you God might already be speaking to you right now? Not through a dream, not through a preacher, but right inside your own thoughts. The real question is, would you even recognize His voice if you heard it? Every single day, heaven sends signals into your mind. Some are gentle nudges, some are warnings, some are flashes of clarity that could change the entire course of your life. But if you miss them, you could walk straight past the very guidance you've been praying for. Today, we're going to uncover 7 powerful ways God speaks through your thoughts, and how to tell the difference between His voice, your own ideas, and the noise of the world. And trust me, by the time we reach the last one, you'll never think about your thoughts the same way again. If this is already stirring something in you, hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next time we unlock a truth that could redirect your destiny. Sign 1. When God plants a quiet urge to do good. Have you ever had a thought so quick and quiet that you almost ignored it, yet later realized it was exactly what someone needed in that moment? That's often how God works. Not with a dramatic announcement, but with a whisper that slips into your mind when you least expect it. Philippians 2 verse 13 says, "For it is God who works in you to will and act in order to fulfill His good purpose." This means those sudden, unplanned urges to help, encourage, or give aren't always just you being nice. They can be heaven's way of steering your steps. Picture this. You're scrolling your phone late at night, ready to sleep, when a thought nudges you to check in on an old colleague. You almost dismiss it. It's late, they might be busy, but you send a short message anyway. The next day, they tell you they were feeling invisible, and your words gave them hope to keep going. That's not random. That's divine timing. God often uses your mind like a private message channel, sending gentle prompts that align with His plan. The challenge? We dismiss them as random thoughts or not important. But ignoring them is like ignoring a low battery warning. You might keep going for a while, but eventually you'll run out of what you need. Think of these nudges as spiritual green lights. They may lead you to offer help, speak encouragement, or give generously, and you may never know the full impact until eternity. The benefit of recognizing them is huge. You stop living on autopilot and start living as an active participant in God's work. And the next sign might surprise you, because it's not about action at all. It's about a feeling that can guard your mind like nothing else. Sign 2, when peace stands guard over your mind. There's a kind of peace that doesn't make sense on paper. It's not the everything's fine calm you get when life is easy. It's the unshakable stillness that shows up even when the storm is still raging. And when you feel it, you're not just feeling better, you're hearing God. Philippians 4 verse 7 promises, "And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This isn't just poetic language. It's a spiritual reality. God can speak to you by letting peace stand like a soldier at the doorway of your thoughts. Think of it like this. You're weighing a big decision. Maybe moving to a new city, starting a business, or saying yes to a partnership. On paper, one option looks perfect. More money, more opportunity, more prestige. But every time you picture yourself in it, your chest feels tight and your mind won't settle. Then there's the other option, less glamorous, maybe even riskier, but when you pray about it, a deep calm settles in. That's not indecision. That's direction. Peace is like an internal referee. When you're in God's will, it calls safe. When you're drifting away from His plan, it quietly steps back and restlessness starts blowing the whistle. The problem is, we often ignore that whistle because we want the play to go our way. If you've ever felt that quiet assurance in the middle of uncertainty, you know it's priceless. And if this is hitting home for you, make sure you're subscribed so you're here for the next time we unpack a truth that could save you years of wrong turns. I once spoke with a man who had 2 job offers. One doubled his salary, but would keep him away from his family 6 days a week. The other paid less, but allowed him to be present for his kids and serve in his church. Every time he thought about the higher-paying job, his stomach knotted. Every time he prayed about the other, peace flooded in. He chose peace, and years later, he told me it was the best decision of his life. Jesus Himself said in John 14, verse 27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives." That means this peace isn't circumstantial, it's covenantal. It's God's way of saying, this is the way, walk in it. The benefit of following peace is that you walk through doors God has actually opened for you. The danger of ignoring it? You might force open a door that was never meant for you. And what starts as a blessing can unravel into a burden. And sometimes, God doesn't just give you peace. He removes confusion in a way that feels like the fog lifting in your mind. That's the next sign, and it's one you don't want to miss. Sign 3. When clarity breaks through the fog. There are moments in life when your mind feels like it's drowning in fog. You've prayed, you've thought it through, you've asked for advice, but every option feels like a dead end. Then, almost suddenly, the confusion lifts. The answer is clear. The weight is gone. That's not random. That's God. 1 Corinthians 14 verse 33 says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but peace." When clarity arrives in the middle of mental chaos, it's often heaven's way of speaking directly to your thoughts. I remember talking to a young entrepreneur who was torn between expanding her business or keeping it small to focus on her family. For months, she wrestled with the decision, making endless lists and running scenarios in her head. Then one morning, while reading a verse she'd read many times before, it hit her differently. In that moment, the noise in her mind went silent, and she knew exactly what to do. That's the Spirit cutting through the static. God's clarity doesn't always arrive with a dramatic sign. Sometimes it's as gentle as the first light of dawn. One moment you can't see, the next you can. The danger is, if you don't recognize His voice, you might mistake anxiety for urgency or confusion for confirmation. That's how people end up making choices rooted in fear instead of faith. When you feel stuck, don't just push harder. Pause. Give God room to speak into the stillness. Learn to tell the difference between panic and peace, between pressure and prompting. His voice won't stir chaos. It will settle it. The benefit of recognizing this kind of clarity is huge. You stop wandering in circles and start walking in purpose. You make decisions anchored in divine direction instead of emotional reaction. And over time, you'll find you're not just hearing God in sermons or in crises. You're hearing Him in the quiet corridors of your own thoughts. And sometimes that same voice doesn't just guide you toward the right choice. It warns you away from the wrong one. That's the next sign, and it's one of the most protective gifts God gives His people. Sign 4, when God puts up a roadblock. Sometimes God's guidance doesn't come as a green light. It comes as a closed door. You're moving forward, everything seems lined up, and then nothing. The deal falls through. The opportunity disappears. The relationship ends. It feels like loss, but in reality, it's protection. We often think of God's voice as something that tells us where to go, but just as often, He speaks by showing us where not to go. That's not rejection. That's redirection. I once knew a man who was about to invest heavily in a business deal. On paper, it looked perfect. The numbers worked. The partners seemed trustworthy, and the timing was ideal. But every time he tried to finalize a contract, something unexpected happened. A delay, a missing document, a sudden change in terms. At first, he was frustrated. Later, he found out the company had been hiding massive debts. That bad luck was actually God's mercy. When God blocks your path, it's rarely comfortable. We're wired to push through obstacles to make it happen. But forcing a door open that God has closed is like sailing into a storm you were warned about. You might get through, but you'll wish you hadn't gone that way. The key is learning to recognize the difference between a challenge meant to grow you and a barrier meant to protect you. Challenges build endurance. Barriers preserve destiny. One pushes you forward. The other keeps you from falling off a cliff. If you're facing a sudden stop in something you thought was God's will, don't panic. Step back. Pray. Ask Him to confirm whether this is a test of perseverance or a shield of protection. His no is never without purpose. It's always tied to a better yes you can't see yet. And here's the thing. When you trust His roadblocks, you'll start to see them not as losses, but as divine detours. You'll stop mourning what didn't happen and start anticipating what's coming instead. Sometimes, that next step after a closed door isn't just about where you're going. It's about who you're becoming in the process. And that leads us straight into the next sign, where God's voice doesn't just guide or protect. It transforms you from the inside out. Sign 5, when your desires start to change. One of the clearest ways God speaks isn't through an audible voice. It's through a shift in what you actually want. The things that used to excite you start to lose their pull. The goals you once chased feel empty. And out of nowhere, you're drawn towards something you never considered before. This isn't just growing up or changing your mind. It's deeper. It's as if your internal compass has been quietly recalibrated. Psalm 37 verse 4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." That doesn't just mean He hands you whatever you ask for. It means He plants the right desires in you to begin with. I once spoke with a man who had spent years climbing the corporate ladder. He was good at it, respected, and well paid. But over time, the thrill faded. He found himself daydreaming about mentoring young entrepreneurs, something that had never been on his radar. At first, he brushed it off as a midlife crisis, but the pull only grew stronger. Eventually, he realized it wasn't random. It was God redirecting his passion. leap, and within a year, doors opened, resources came, and lives were being changed. When God calls you beyond your comfort zone, it's not to set you up for failure. It's to set you up for dependence on Him. The discomfort is part of the design. It forces you to rely on His provision, His timing, and His strength. The challenge is, fear will try to disguise itself as wisdom. You'll hear thoughts like, it's not the right time, or you're not ready. But if God is the one calling, He's already factored in your weaknesses. He knows exactly what you lack, and He plans to fill the gap. The key is to test the call. Does it align with His word? Does it serve others? Does it draw you closer to Him? If the answer is yes, then the fear you feel is not a stop sign. It's a sign you're stepping into territory where faith is required. And here's the beauty. Once you take that first step, you'll often find that what looked impossible starts to unfold piece by piece. The provision comes, the right people show up, and you realize the comfort zone you left behind was actually holding you back. Sometimes, stepping out in faith leads to something even more profound, a deep inner peace that doesn't make sense on paper. That's the next sign, and it's one of the most reassuring ways God speaks. Wrapping it all together, if you've been noticing even one of these signs in your life, don't ignore it. God doesn't speak just to be heard. He speaks to be followed. Every nudge, every closed door, every shift in desire, every wave of peace, it's all part of a bigger conversation He's having with you. The truth is, His voice is reserved for special people. It's for anyone willing to listen. And the more you respond, the clearer it becomes. You'll start to see patterns, connections, and divine fingerprints in places you once thought were random. So here's your challenge. Don't just file this away as good information. Take the next step. Pray. Journal what you've been sensing. Act on the direction He's been giving you, even if it's small. Because obedience in the small things often unlocks the bigger things you've been praying for. And remember, God's guidance isn't just about getting you to the right destination. It's about shaping you into the right person along the way. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You never know. Your obedience might be the confirmation they've been praying for.